ready to receive the seed that God has to plant inside of us tonight. I want to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Dr. Raymona Lawrence. She is going to come up for about 10 minutes and just share with us a story of how the Lord has just really given her wings to soar. Dr. Raymona Lawrence is an associate professor of community health, behavior, and education in the Jianping, I don't know if I said that right, HSU College of Public Health in Georgia Southern University. Her main research focus is community engagement in rural, hard-to-reach populations, especially those with sickle cell disease. Dr. Lawrence has been an investigator on numerous rural health and sickle cell disease related to grants, and she is currently a dual principal investigator with Dr. someone, Iffy, it looks like. IFY, unless it's LFY, and I don't have my glasses on. Iffy, that's a good name. I won't even try to pronounce his last name. But it's a $9.7 million patient-centered outcomes research institute grant entitled Comparative Effectiveness of Peer Mentoring versus Structured Education based on Transition Programming for the Management of Care Transition in Emerging Adults with Sickle Cell Disease. In other words, it's for sickle cell disease. What all that other stuff meant. Dr. Lawrence also serves as the Director of Research for the Sickle Cell Community Consortium as the Editor-in-Chief for the Journal of the Georgia Public Health Association. Dr. Lawrence's passion for health and wellness is broad. Along with being a professor, she is an independent consultant with Arbonne. I want to say Airborne. Arbonne International, a plant-based health, wellness, and skincare company. Dr. Lawrence uses her Arbonne business as a vehicle to educate individuals and communities about the injustices of skincare, makeup, and food industries relating to the toxic ingredients that allow to remain in the products we eat and put on our skin. Through Arbonne, she teaches others how to gain financial freedom while improving her health and the health of others. She is married to an entrepreneur and owner of Off Track Entertainment, George Lawrence, which is running the sound tonight. Y'all give it up for George Lawrence. They've been married for 17 years, and they have a beautiful 12-year-old little girl. Her name is Gigi, and a handsome little 2-year-old son named Jordan. And she is the daughter and former educator of Annette Holloway and former Statesboro Police Chief J.R. Holloway. Will you welcome Dr. Raymona Lawrence to the stage?
Good evening. Okay, so you have the first slide. Okay, thank you. And so, as Janet told you, I'm a professor. And so this testimony comes with slides and lessons learned that you all have to take from this at the end, right? Because a professor cannot go and tell something without slides. So here's some pictures for you. So, Janet was telling you a lot of things about me. She told you that I'm a professor. I've had a lot of great things happen as a professor. I've gotten funding in the amount of grants that she was talking about. I got my student loans paid off because of my research that I did. $95,000 in student loans erased, right? I get to travel, which is that second picture, all over the country to do my research. I have a great family, George and Gigi. Wait, go back. I have a great family, and my kids, Jordan and Gianna. Can you go back to the last slide? I'm showing, Okay, I get to, just exercise, and in the company that Janet was telling you about in Arbonne, I have been flown out to LA to take pictures with the company, and I get to talk and do all kinds of talks all over the country for Arbonne. I'm on the praise team. I get to do things as far as travel, as you can see in this last picture. And so when we often see those types of things, we see these stories, we see pictures of people on Facebook, and we think, oh, they have it going on. They have never had to go through anything. They've had it easy, right? We've thought that about people sometimes. But going to the next slide. So this first little girl in the corner, that's me, obviously, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. Well, she was born with sickle cell disease. She doesn't just research it, right? So back when I was little, I remember being that size and going to the doctor, and the doctor said, she might never be able to run and play with the other kids. She won't be able to probably graduate from high school on time. She won't get to do a lot of things that other kids can do. And my dad, I remember seeing his face, and his face just crushed when he heard the doctor say that. And my little old self at 5 years old thought in my head, I don't know who he's talking about, but that's not me. I probably can't run and play with the other kids because they just can't run fast enough. That's got to be the problem, right? So as we move forward, sickle cell is what clinically is a very bad disease, right? It's a pain disorder. So when we're talking about pain and struggle, the clinical course of the disease that I have is full of pain, right? But my dad, I remember him saying that he was so angry. He was so angry when I was born, and not that I was born, but that I had sickle cell disease. And he remembered as he was driving, God said, when did I say that she had sickle cell disease, right? So yeah, clinically, I do have it, but what did God say? What does God say? And so as we fast forward, when it was time to have children, well, the doctor says, if you have this type of disease, then you probably should not have children. So the first time when me and George went to the doctor said, oh, this is a disaster. And it was so crushing. And so we said, you know what? You got to do what God says. And so when I went and I had Gianna, my first child, I ended up having a sickle cell crisis. The pain was unbearable. It was absolutely unbearable. George had to carry me to the hospital, and I don't even remember how I got from East Georgia to Augusta, right? It was so bad. But then once I had her, I had complete kidney failure. My arm was paralyzed. I had an emergency C-section. And so we said, no more kids. We do not have to do this ever again, right? Because that was it was traumatizing. It was really traumatizing. And so fast forward, I thought, maybe we should have another child. God was putting it on my heart. And George was like, I don't think so. So as God kept leading me, I kept thinking, okay, this is maybe something we should do. But we never did because of fear, right? Fear was gripping us. But then I got pregnant, and I ended up having a miscarriage. And the pain of that rejection was just so great. It was so great, such a deep hurt. And I said, God, why? I did not want to have a baby. First of all, this is 10 years later. My children are 10 years apart, if y'all don't know this. So 10 years later, I've been preventing this pretty good, right? So I have a miscarriage, and I'm like, why, God? I didn't want this. I don't want to do this. And God said, Raymona, I've been telling you to do this for a long time, but I wanted you to do it, and I wanted you to choose it. I wasn't going to make you have this baby, right? So I obeyed. I listened to God, and I got pregnant with Jordan the next week. The next month. Not week, y'all, month. So after that, I thought, God, if you said that this is what I'm supposed to do, then it's going to be perfect. Because now I'm making deals with God. Like, if you told me to do this, you better make it right. You better make it perfect when I have this baby, right? I don't want to go through the sickle cell crises again. I don't want to go through the pain and all of those things that I had to go through. And so I trusted God, and everything was good. And then, as I went through the pregnancy, I really meditated every day. I meditated on this Psalms 91. And it was, he that dwelleth in the secret place, right, of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I said that every day. And I believed God, and I believed God, and I knew that God was going to make this just an easy process, right? So when I went to have Jordan, another sickle cell crisis. This time, when I had Jordan, though, which is the baby, the little boy, when I had him, he was born early. He was born at 36 weeks, so he was premature. So after I had him, 2 days later, I felt this terrible pain in my body. And I asked the doctor, there's something wrong. There is something going wrong. Tell me, what is the problem here? And they ran tests, and they found out that I had a blood clot that went from my leg, and it broke off and went to both of my lungs. So I was rushed to the cardiac cath unit, and I didn't see the baby for a few days, right? And they were so nice. People talk bad about East Georgia sometimes, but this time they gave my husband a room in the baby part, and they kept the baby and everything. And so it was such an experience, and I was so angry. And afterwards, I had pneumonia. So that's this picture where I'm just sucking on this thing to try to get some air in my lungs. So I have a blood clot. I'm on blood thinners that I have to take therapy for 6 months. I have a premature baby. I have pneumonia. And I'm like, God, I don't know what else I can take. I felt like it was the lowest point of my life, right? I just thought, God, what else can I do? Where can I go from here, right? But you just saw those other pictures, so you know that the story changes, right? Yeah. So what happened was God taught me some lessons. So go to the next slide. So, during this time, I'm telling you, I would have fainted unless I believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living, right? So when you're in that downtime, when it's deep, deep in your heart and you're just hurting, you've got to believe that you're going to see the goodness of the Lord. And I want to tell you about some lessons that I learned during this time. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. So here's the thing. It doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you end. Are you afraid to fly? So some of y'all are stuck in that little girl, and somebody told you something that did not agree with the word of God, and you've been holding on to it all this time. It's time for you to let it go, because it doesn't matter what God says. You have to believe the report of the Lord, right? Yes. So are you afraid to fly? Are you afraid to fly because of what somebody else said? Are you afraid to fly and enjoy the journey that God has given you? You've got to stop looking at Facebook and start living your own story. Are you writing your own story? Get out of looking at other people's story and get into your story, okay? Next time. So you've got to surround yourself with the right people. So this is a picture a month ago. I was in Hawaii, and I was zip lining. And these people, you don't see it, but we are very, very high. Right? We are up very high. And when you're going zip line, and you go from line, and the next line gets a little bit higher. The next line gets a little bit higher. And you got to be brave. And everybody on that platform has to go. And if everybody on that platform doesn't go, then you're prevented from going a little bit higher, right? You can't go to the next step. And so who are you surrounding yourself with, right? What are they saying? Are they the ones that are going to take you a little bit higher, right? There's some people that you have told about your vision or what you want in your life or where you want to go, and they're not your people, right? They're not the people that need to surround you anymore. So if you go to the next slide, this is something that I always tell people. You have told somebody about your vision and they're not your people, so you need to release vision hostages, okay? And let me tell you what a vision hostage is. A vision hostage is holding people hostage to long-term vision when they were only put into your life for a short-term purpose. Who do you need to release? Yes. So what happens to hostages? They're held against their will. They're kept from reaching their highest potential, and it's torture for you and for them, right? So what is it, who is it that you need to release, okay? So when you're talking about soaring, where do you need to go and who do you need to release, okay? All right, Janet only gave me 10 minutes, so I got to hurry. Next slide. All right, so we were talking about soaring. This is a picture. I was flying the other day, and can y'all see what seat I was in? What seat was it? 1D, yes. And then it was first class in 1D. So let me tell y'all how that happened. So I fly a lot now for my study, okay? I fly all the time. And so it was suddenly that I got some flight status, right? And I got to move up. My seat got upgraded. I didn't pay for that first class seat, right? And so it took miles and miles and miles and lots of flights to get that seat and to get that upgrade, right? So when I was just flying every now and then, I didn't build up enough miles. Y'all get where I'm going? Some of y'all are flying and you're doing stuff a little bit here. You stop. You do a little bit here. You stop. You do a little bit here, and you say, God, why are you not taking me to the next level? Why are you elevating somebody else so quick, and you're not elevating me, right? You're not going to the front of the line. It's because you got to be consistent, and you've got to build up enough miles, right? In your vision, in your dream, how are you being consistent? So the next slide is quitting, right? That's what we do so much. We're building our dreams. We're building our vision. We want to soar, but we keep quitting, right? And there's diamonds there. So I want to leave with you that no matter what you're going through, it doesn't matter where you've gone, where you've been. It matters where you're going. It doesn't matter how you start. It matters how you finish, right? When it seems like nothing is happening, everything is happening. So don't get caught up in the pain. Use the pain to propel you. And ladies, I just want to tell you, soar, soar. Yeah.